That old world charm, doo-doo-doo-doo. That old world charm, reviews say it's alright.
Hello, lovely visitors. This old world, this charming section of the old world. Don't worry about those other sections of the old world. Those other podcasts, they might have squared edges. They might be dwelling somewhere. Don't worry about those. Come to the charming side. Welcome to that old world charm, episode 29. My name is Adam Camilleri, and I'm joined by Peter the Falcon.
Hello, my babies. I'm
He's
back.
He's doing it. We had a little bit of a hiatus. We had a couple of weeks off because we were all, well, I think we only had 1 week off. We had a 1 week gap where we were all super freaking busy, and we hope to have that not happen again if we can help it. But hey, life is life. We're all busy guys doing a bunch of different things. We all got day jobs. One day, mate, one day, there'll be a pro old world player who can just play old world all day, every day. Actually, that already exists. It's Mountain Miniatures, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of, I guess. But
Yeah.
I mean, would you call him a pro?
Well, he does it professionally, but he
makes
would
money.
not. Having met him, he would not state that he is a pro. He would be like, I'm just having fun here, guys. I just happen to have every army. He's an absolute hoe for the old world, and I adore him. I adore him and everything he does. But you and I have been racking up some freaking games.
Yeah.
Pretty much playing a minimum of one a week for the last month. And we are here to tell you about what we've been playing, what has been working, what hasn't worked, what we've been brewing, and some things in the game we've identified that we want to do. Most of them, things that we want to change or things that we feel like are general imbalances. Of course, there's going to be a part 2 to this episode where Peter and I will be answering a bunch of really interesting Patreon questions. If you want to get that goodness, come over and join us at That Old World Charm over on Patreon, because there is a whole another, 45 minutes to an hour. Every single one of these episodes that you're listening to right now on Spotify or all the other aggregators, there is a twinsies of it behind a paywall should you wish to support us. And of course, this show every week doesn't take an insignificant amount of time. Some of the shows that we do, especially like the stats one we put on and some of the army book reviews, it's not unusual for us to have to set aside 4 hours of our lives to record an episode for you guys. So if you're all interested in supporting us, we do really appreciate it. And you can join the 120 other people who are being absolute miscreants in our Discord. 120-ish.
My God.
Because the 118. So I rounded up a little bit.
It feels like about 110 of them are dwarf players, the way our dwarf
seriously. We might have to do, because I'm planning to step into the stunty realms. I may be waiting for some new miniatures to drop that I have or have not heard are possibly coming, and I may be stepping into the stunty realms. And who knows? There could be a tangential offshoot show, called the Book of Grudgeon or something, which has probably not been done and copyrighted by 19 other podcasts. Definitely not. Definitely not.
It's not a popular concept.
I'll call it All Aboard the Mining Cart.
I like that.
I like that much better.
Yeah.
But let us jump in. So we've played 4 games in the last.
You and I have played 4 games in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And then I've played an additional 4. I've had a busy month. I played about 8 games.
You've played you've played a super major, as we would say in another game system. You played some GTs.
And that's with me working full time and not taking time off. I've just been hammering them out. But I've had a lot of fun playing a lot of Demons and Warriors of Chaos has been where I've been this last run. And really enjoying myself.
I have been seriously impressed with Demons. Seriously impressed with what you've been able to accomplish with Demons. I looked at them on face value when I unpacked, because of course I've went through every army book by now. I've been through every single one. Not with necessarily a fine tooth comb, but I have a demon army, because you just play, tabletop games long enough, and then the denizens of the warp will come to you, like you'll summon them. And so I have a demons army. It was actually my first 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy army was demon. Because I was just tangential telling you a story. I went over to a guy's house to buy a starter army of Tomb Kings, because it was in the first year of 8th edition. The Tomb Kings army just came out, had some phenomenal sculpts and brilliant miniatures that came out with that launch. And he had a demon army as well. And the demon army was so much prettier and better painted than the pretty nasty looking Tomb Kings that were mostly like broken. And so I was like, all right, how much is that one? And it was like only a little bit more. I'm like, I'll take that one. And so I just played demons. And so I've got a little bit of a soft spot for him. But tell me, what have you been experimenting with demons? And what was our first matchup?
So I've been doing a lot. I've talked a little bit here and there, both in the Discord and on the show. Unfortunately, burying the lead, I guess, a little bit. But I've been running kind of two different demon lists for the most part. I've been running a heavily Zinch focused list that tosses in a Bloodthirster to deal with big monsters and knights and things like that. And then I have a second list that is almost all Khorne with just a Zinch Demon Prince that's kitted out to the nines. And both have done very well for me. I think I'm more in love with the Khorne list.
Yeah.
I'll probably be making a couple adjustments just so that I'm not too afraid of Impetuous. But like I've been, like you've said, I've been very impressed with how the demons have performed. I feel like it's a much stronger book than people give it credit for. The big thing about demons, because of the fact that any magic weapon just messes up your entire life, you really, really need to always have the initiative. Like you have to. Now, by that I don't mean go first. I mean like you need to be the one exerting board control at all times.
Correct. Dictating the tempo. Like shit needs to happen on your terms.
Yeah.
Because like any collapse is a full sale collapse. So I like it for that. I like it for the generalship it demands from the player. I like that it demands that you take the field, you be proactive, and you try and make things happen. And we've had some great games. Our first game was was more the Zinch side of the demons. I think you had some flies as well. I think that's some blood drones.
So that list, we tried the first time we played. We were using the Nova rules for our lists.
Yeah.
So I modified a list that I'd been toying around with because one thing that Zinch can do is you can run like because a number of their units let you take a level 3 Zinch caster like in rare and special slots.
It's bit bullshit.
You can have like 4 or 5 effectively level 4 and level 5 wizards in your army list. And that's pretty devastating. And most of them can have battle magic. So you can make a pretty wicked list that way. But what I did was I toned it down from the Nova version. The list off the top of my head was a Bloodthirster with the flail. So basically he has an ogre blade. Nothing else on him. I had my souped up Demon Prince of Zinch, which is in every list, as my general, with the Aether Blade, so he ignores all armor saves, and the power thirst or whatever the heck, power aid. It's the magic item that as long as he's within dispel range of a wizard, so within 24 inches, they're -1 to cast. And then I had a big block of pink horrors with a Herald of Zinch in it. And they had the Banner of Sorcery. I had a unit of 4 Plague Drones with the reroll 1s to wound banner. And I had a unit of Flamers with a level 3 wizard inside it. I think he was level 2 because I was using the Nova rules. And what else did I have in that list? That's like the bare bones, but the idea was to like really shut you down by using the Zinch signature spell, the one that can reduce your like strength, toughness, weapon skill by D3, or 2 of those at any given time, because it's a very powerful spell. And then just kind of like blast you with magic all game, and pin you in. I also had I had one other heavy hitter, but regardless, and I ran that into your 2,500 points of Empire.
Was it 2,500?
Yeah,
that one was 2,500. Dang, I've modified my infantry brick list to be back down to whatever.
2,000.
I remember what it was though.
And I also had 24 Furies, 3 units of 8 Furies.
I was about to say you didn't mention the Furies. The Furies are like the best unit in the book.
They're quite good, yes.
Because no matter which god you decide to go to or which skew you decide to go into, you never want to not have Fury. Or
Yeah,
likely with Khorne or Slanesh as the
Furies of Khorne,
so
Slanesh is
good.
okay, but Furies of Khorne are so good.
Dude,
So good.
I straight up think they're one of the best skirmishing units in the game. After having felt their power for like 3 games now, I'm
Yep. The only
convinced they're
negative
really
to them the only negative to them is you can't flee. So
yeah,
you have to play
yeah,
your chaff differently, right? Like you're not blocking things off, which is good because they're skirmishing units, so it is like a bigger headache to try and L shape your way into trying to speed bump people. Um,
yeah.
but anyway,
Oh yeah, I do have my list. All right, let's do it. You played into what I've been calling my infantry block
mhm,
of Empire. Yes, I have gone down the rabbit hole of trying to make a unit of infantry not feel bad, because I don't love the idea of what if I started calling Cavpire. That's only Empire. If you're going to do that, you might as well just take Pegasus Knights and Bretonian and have a lot
mhm,
better list. But I have also tried that one out, and we'll get to that one later. But this one is Captain of the Empire, standard bear, so BSB, shield, great weapon, full plate armor, war banner. I think he had the 5-up invuln, Tarnaris, or he had the white cloak. I can't remember which one. We got 2 engineers with grenade launching blunderbusses, a General Empire Imperial Griffin, great weapon, full plate, ruby ring, talons of protection, also with a shield. Really loving this guy. In this matchup, obviously, he would have been better with any other freaking weapon. That was a magic weapon instead of a great weapon, but I did not want to tailor. We had a High Priest of Ulrich, who was on a Barded Warhorse with heavy armor and just a great weapon. We had a Wizard Lord on a peg, Battle Magic, Wizard Staff, and the White Cloak. So the BSB must have the Armor of Tarnaris. 2x5 Archers, 5 and 4 Empire Knights, just a champ. And then 28 veteran state troops with thrusting spears, shields drilled, and the Griffin standard. And so I got to
mhm,
explain this a little bit. So this unit has 8 static combat res because you deploy it um 6x4, or you do 5 by whatever 5, but yeah, 6x4 has to be 6x4 to get the ranks. And then you have a BSB with a war banner, so he brings 2 combat res. You have a standard in the unit who brings 3 combat res. You have 2 ranks, and each rank counts for 2 combat res, so you go up to 7 straight away, and then you have closed order, so you're at 8 static combat res straight up. And the whole premise of this unit is it is not an insignificant amount of points. It's 107 for the captain. Sorry, no, 120 something,
mhm,
plus the 5 plus invuln, and then 345 for the veteran state troops. And they don't do any freaking damage. But the concept here was to have something in an Empire list that could stand up to undead, which is what I find is the biggest barrier to entry for Empire. Um, you can, Hellblaster very rarely kills a whole unit of Empire of undead anything,
mhm.
and then they just regen it, heal it, whatever. And so the other thing is to just make a unit they can't freaking charge without crumbling to death. And so,
Yep,
yep, that was
and
the concept.
that worked out against the demons because it's a very
It's
similar scenario, right? With the unstable,
correct.
it was
Yep.
probably the one unit in this game that managed to achieve
Felt
its goal.
that felt good. Then I had 4 demis
Yep.
with full command. I even put a Luckstone on the demigriff for the one reroll because why not? Of
Mhm,
course, full plate. I've been putting halberds on my demis. I think it's half one, 3/4 another. Double cannon, double hellblaster for
mhm,
my DACA package, and 7 inner circle knights with full command, of course, and they go with the high priest, who proceeded in 3 turns to not roll at high enough. Sorry, to roll too high and never get off the freaking uh, cantation, because the whole premise of that unit was to have damage to inner circle knights because that's the chant I was going for. And no, did not happen once in this game. But how did this game go, mate?
Uh, this game, this game, I felt was a dice game for you, um, except for the fact that I did manage to early on get that initiative. I feel like my
Yeah,
board positioning was a little bit better. The problem, and it's a problem in the game right now, and we talked about it a little bit on the last patron episode, Danny and I. Infantry doesn't feel very everybody knows it. Infantry doesn't feel very good unless they're super undercosted to begin with,
yep,
and the major problem is it's this concept of initiative. So before in 8th edition, previous editions often, um your charge ranges, for example, were your move plus 2d6 instead
yep,
of 2d6 drop the lowest and then and then if you were Cav, you got like 3d6, right?
Yep.
And now you have with Cav, you get this additional d6 as well. That's optional with Swift Stride,
Yep.
but also this like maximum charge range. So before there was no there was no like maximum charge range other
Correct.
than your move plus 12 inches. So even like lowly Empire dudes could potentially pull off a 16-inch charge
Correct.
and mess up your day. Now you have 10 inches to work with all the
Yep.
time, and I know you have 10 inches to work.
Correct.
So there's no game there of
Yeah.
trying to play the luck thing of do I
Mhm.
stay 9 inches out because that's probably
Yep.
the lower end. I don't have to worry. And because Cav have that move plus 9 inches because of Swift Stride, where they get that extra 3, they project more threat immediately.
Correct.
Anything with Swift Stride, I guess, does. And it changes like everything. So it was very easy for me for most of my army. Really, the only thing that didn't project threat in this game was my Bloodthirster,
Yeah. He hid.
because
He
he
hid like a
doesn't have Swift
coward,
Stride.
and he was going to get double
Well,
cannon. So he played dance around the house for like 3 turns, and
for
then he came out and smashed.
and then he came out and killed everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I waited until the cannons wouldn't hurt me so bad, and then
Yeah.
made the murder.
Well, you got rid of one of the cannons, I believe, with a unit of Furies. I countercharged with the brick, killed the
Yep.
Furies, but then I was 1 cannon down, and you're like, well, 1 cannon doesn't kill. Yeah, you can't one turn the Thirster anymore with 1 cannon, so here he
Yeah.
comes.
And I had that was the other thing I had in the list. I did have a skull cannon of corn.
Yes.
And it did surprisingly well for me as well in all of
It
my
did.
games. I've kept
Yeah,
it in
it did.
the list now because of it. But yeah, so that infantry block, for all of its scariness in terms of the combat res, like I could have just avoided it most of the game.
Yeah.
You did position it very well. There did come a point in the third or fourth round, after I believe like your Hellblasters had deleted one of my units of Furies.
Mhm.
I had magically killed your Inner Circle Knights with my Plague
Yeah.
Drones,
Yep.
even though
Oh, yeah. We should talk
you
about
had
that series of dice rolls.
yeah. So like the early game was both of us having some pretty terrible like
Well,
swingy dice.
you had
Um,
no magic phase despite having a super magic army. Like
yeah,
your first 2 magic phases were like nothing, and then my combat phases and armor saves were like
yeah,
absolutely terrible.
yeah. So like your turn 2, I charged your Inner Circle Knights with my Plague Drones, and I was fishing
Yep.
for 6s for Armor Bane because they don't have Armor Bane natively. And I had those reroll 1s to wound. So I was like, here we go. Let's see if I can pick off a couple of these Inner Circle Knights, and then I'll just hope I save the rest, because you're going to be wounding me on 6s or 5s.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you'd whiffed on your 2 damage. And then what ended up happening was you rolled
So I had 8 models in the unit.
yeah.
Because
I
I had
did
the High
6
Priest.
wounds.
Yep.
None of them were 6s to wound.
Nope.
And so you had a 2-up armor save against everything I hit you with. And I killed 5 knights. You rolled 5 ones on your armor
Correct.
saves.
Correct.
Um,
Oh my god. So yeah, they got run down.
Yep.
And then yeah, I ended up having to put I can't remember if I put the demis in or I redirected them that turn with but you ended up getting in behind me with that unit.
That's what happened. You shoved the
No,
demis in my face.
no. I charged you with the Inner Circle Knights.
That's what
You
it was.
effed me up, ran me
Ye-
down, and jumped my lions in your turn.
Yeah, on my
And
turn.
oh
That's what
my
it was.
god, I was like, "Do you want to pack up now, mate? Because I think I'm out." But we kept playing.
Um,
It's actually it got much better.
Yeah, because your Hellblaster went off. Your 2 little
Uh,
Hellblasters wiped out most of my Furies. I had 1 unit left. After that, um, my Demon Prince was amazing
Dude,
because like you had no magic phase. That
I
-1 like shut you
correct.
down so
Yeah.
hard by
So
itself.
I'm casting on as a level 3, you're dispelling as a level 4, and then you cast as a level 5, and I dispel as a level 4. So you're
Yeah,
always at an advantage if you're within 24 of me. And I think that DP is the first model I can say is perfectly well rounded. It's offensively, defensively, both magic and combat, defensive, mobile. That guy is brilliant.
he's great. I love him, and he fills a lot of holes for me. Because one of the things that I had a hard time with when I was making lists, because I love plague drones, but they don't do anything to armor. I love Zinch, but most of the Zinch stuff is either AP1 or AP0. So like cavalry lists and Bretonnia are the big bad right now. I
Yeah.
didn't have a good answer to them. So, but this DP, often between hammer hand and just his attacks, is going to pick up 4, 5, 6 knights by
Yep.
himself
Yep.
in a close combat phase, and he's going to be either initiative 7 or initiative 10. So in most
Yeah.
cases, he's attacking first, regardless of if he's been charged or not. Um, and like one of the scarier barons can't take a magic weapon because he wants to have
Yep.
the heroic killing blow
Correct.
thing. So I do still get my saves, which is great because I'll get a 5 up and a 4 up, like with the 4+ chaos armor or whatever it is, and the
Yep.
5 up regen. So like I'm in a pretty good place, at least with him. The bloodthirster, because I'm not paying for anything, he feels a little bit weaker. But he does his job. Like
He does. Yeah. Well, he
um,
almost does it. So I want to come back to something you were talking about previously. So the concept you said of pretty much you were talking about threat ranges. So the threat
yeah,
range for infantry was reduced by like a third, whereas the
yeah,
threat range for cav and others was reduced by like maybe we'll say a quarter. So, but
mhm,
whatever it was, whatever the delineation is, it's much less reduced than infantry. And that's just the maximum. So when you talk about the average, and that's where the true difference exists.
yeah,
Because you can always, exist at like within your opponent's maximum charge range to try and bait them out and play funny buggers and all sorts of things. The issue is all cavalry get to exist within their average or even closer than their average threat range, whilst infantry are at their maximum, if not outside their threat range.
yeah.
And that's the difference. So cavalry can just do whatever the F they want to infantry, and infantry do not get any say in it unless they've got some crazy stuff like a double move or anything like that. And
Well,
that's
that's
the
the thing. Yeah.
yeah.
The average charge roll for cavalry is at their maximum charge range, right?
Like
Like there's no subtract.
the average charge for an empire is a 7. Is 7 inches. It's 4 plus 2d6 take the highest. It's 3, average, whatever. It's like I can only bank on 7s and 8s and stuff,
Mhm.
whereas Cav can start yeeting from, 12 inches away without issues.
Yeah. But not only that, what I'm saying is because Swift Stride gives you that extra 3 inches, but
Correct.
it's not a full 6 on your charge. Um, like you have that extra 9 inches for your maximum charge range. Um, and like the average that you're going to roll is a 8 or a 9, always
Mm,
because of Swift Stride, if you have Swift Stride on your Cav. So like if I want to try and play funny buggers with you, if I want to stay on the edge of your threat range to try and force you to charge me, if I'm not planning on fleeing, like with demons where I just can't, uh, like the risk is like basically I'm giving you a 50-50 shot of hitting me every time.
yeah. Yep.
Um, and that sucks. Uh, yeah. And that's where like having good baitable chaff is great in this edition still, is one of the only reasons why they're still worth it. Um, is for that. But anyway, in terms of that game, it was really great. But we did have a couple of really big dice swings. There was the Inner Circle Knights.
Yep.
But
Mind you, I got
then,
I got those drones. I put my Wizard Lord in the back of your drones,
yep,
and they actually fully crumbled. Wizard Lord held tight, and I can't remember what I had in the side. I think it might have been no, I had my general in the front, Wizard Lord in the back.
you had General in the front, Liz, and that was where I started to think maybe I don't want plague drones.
Play
I mean, they
drones.
whiffed hard in
They
that
whiffed really
combat
hard.
as well because like they didn't get any wounds on either unit. But regardless, because I have to think about instability, like I started to waffle on how much I liked plague drones. Like they're great, they're super tough. They don't they don't do a lot of wounds though, so like your combat res starts to go down.
Yeah, correct.
So unless you're paying for the combat res, which if you're not going Nurgle,
Yeah.
you don't really want to. And they've taken up a rare slot, and I have other
Yes.
stuff I want in my rare slot, like skull cannons. So it
My
became like an iffy thing for me.
Yeah, my issue with them is that, like ogres, they're ultra susceptible to minus to hit. Ultra susceptible.
Yeah.
As soon as you take a minus to hit, all of a sudden you like lose a plague drain automatically because just that many less hits, that many less combat res, and all of a sudden one of them just or might as well be dead already.
So there is the banner, the 50-point banner that gives them combat res every time
N-
they successfully hit with a poison attack.
Not
So
worth it.
well, now your combat res is going up, so now you're not breaking to instability. and so that's where I'm kind of thinking I might give it another go later, is to use that banner. But that makes them, at
Super
least
expensive.
at 4 wide, it makes it awkward at 2,000 points. I can't also take a skull cannon, like I have to take
Yeah.
other stuff, and
Yeah.
I have begun to really like the skull cannon a lot. Anyway,
So that game ended up being a medium win to yourself. I
yep,
think you tallied it up.
at the very end, there was a really good turn where you got to see your Griffin Banner guys go to town.
Yeah.
I hit you with my Demon Prince, my Bloodthirster, and my last remaining unit of Furies. The first round of combat, I won, but I only won by like 1 point, even though
Well,
I wiped out 2 ranks of your guys. It just didn't
yeah. Well,
matter.
so we even said it, like you had already won the game. You were sending on the unit so I could get some proof of concept. So
Mhm.
I could see if this thing was worth doing. And so you're like, yeah, cool. I pretty much got the game cinched up, and you charged them all in. Ideally, like we said at the time, like you would do all the same things again. You just probably would put the Furies in. The Furies gave me some combat res.
Well, that was in the second time. The first round of combat they didn't. It was the second round
Of course.
when I followed up and tried again, and you won combat. I did 7 wounds to you, and then you didn't do any back, but you won combat, and
Yeah.
I started to crumble, and I was like, okay.
Oh
Luckily,
shit.
the Bloodthirster and the Demon Prince were fine,
Yeah.
because they have the -1 and -2 to crumble. But I lost a Fury, and I was like, oh, that's kind of
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. The fact that that unit can take a DP, a Thirster, and a unit of Furies with Mark of Corn. I think the Furies were in the flank as well.
Yeah, no, they were in the front, but it was because that follow-up turn, because you only gave ground, the Furies were no longer had their corn bonus.
Of course.
So they were, and there were no more Furious charge, so I only had like 3 attacks from them.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was an interesting game. It was definitely one where um, things could have gone differently for you, if there hadn't been some dice.
Yeah. I still like the list. I still think there's something there. Pretty sure that the Inner Circle Knight with Lord is just Demigoose in disguise from now on.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say. But apart from that, I like the list. I genuinely like the list. I think it's cool. I was testing out a bunch of things as I was in all the games that you'll find hereafter. But the next one I will go down and say is the worst defeat I have taken in the old world thus far. You want to tell them about this game, mate?
Okay, so this was yeah. So in this game, this was this when I went all corn?
I believe this is when you're all corn, and I went the Ultra Vanguard skew.
Oh no, I
Double.
wasn't all corn. I was still using the Zinch list. Uh I pulled back because we were doing 2,000 points.
Yes.
And yeah. So this was the Zinch list again, but you were doing your Vanguard stuff, so you didn't
Yeah.
have any Mornfang.
I did. I had 4 Mornfang. Not that they did anything.
Didn't I thought you had no Mornfang in this list because you had the 2 units of Man-Eaters.
I had the Mornfang too. Yeah, this is. I can run down this list quickly. It's a single tyrant for characters. Of
Yep.
course, on the Stonehorn, great weapon, heavy armor, gut maul, Talon of protection. Of course, he's got Kineator, 2x3 Iron Guts, 3 Ogre Bulls, 3x3 Saber Tusks with Vanguard, 3 Man Eaters and 4 Man Eaters. The unit of 3 has poison attacks, Vanguard, Iron Fists, Standard Bearer, Captain, and the Razor Standard. I actually really like that unit. It's got like 4 up armor save, and they are AP a bajillion on a 6. So they're like AP 3 on a 6 to hit, and of course they have 5 attacks each, so they just kind of blend. And then I had 4 Man Eaters, all with great weapons and heavy armor, just with a Captain, Stubborn, and Vanguard. 4 Mornfang, full command, which no, sorry, not full command. It had Crusher and Standard Bearer, heavy armor, of course, but I also had great weapons on them, and then 2 Gorges with Vanguard.
Okay. And I was basically running the same list, except I didn't have Flamers this time. The Flamers were gone because of points. And I had a few less Furies, but basically everything else was the same. Still had my Bloodthirster. I think in this game I switched the Bloodthirster to have the Great Axe, though, so we had Monster Slayer.
Yep. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. So
well,
nice of you.
like I didn't know what you were running. I was
No, we didn't make any of these. Like, I didn't have a single magic weapon playing against demons. Like,
Yeah.
I made we made no knowledge of what we were playing into.
But yeah, this game definitely was a bad beatdown.
Goddamn travesty.
And it had a lot to do with once again, being able to maintain initiative, and you just never got to. With part of it was deployment, I think, for you because you deployed your man eaters all on one flank.
Yeah, 2 mana meters
Um,
went on, so 2 manas went on one flank, 2 gorges went on the other flank, and then a
mhm,
distribution of saber tusk just throughout the middle for redirecting in bits and pieces. The issue I had with this game is that you played so well, and I don't know if I played poorly or it was just well, I think I played poorly and it was a calamity of errors. Plus, the list was, in hindsight, non-viable.
mhm.
Actually doesn't work. You just avoided my shit. None of my good units declared a charge. The Mournfang did not declare a single charge. The Tyrant did not declare a single charge. None of the Man-Eaters were able to declare a single charge. One of those because of a Terra Flea, which we'll talk about in a minute,
Yeah,
because a unit of Sabertusks fleed from, I can't remember if it was the DP or the Thirster, but they blocked a premium, premium 4 Man-Eater, like, average charge into your horrors. And they would have
yeah,
picked up the whole unit, and you just, like, backed up again. It sucks
yeah.
so much.
Yeah, so one thing I've learned with the demons, and it's something that I always struggled with 40k because I love to play like custodians and blood angels and just full send, even though that's not even how you're supposed to play them, right? But with old world and with eighth edition, etc., I was always much better at patience.
Mm,
And it came into play a lot in this game. I was very patient. Turn after turn, I
yeah.
refused to charge you. I would just
Yep.
like back
Move
up.
up. Threat, threat, threat. Move up.
Yeah,
Threat, threat, threat. Yeah, yeah.
and so your tyrant was always like on the verge of being charged by my
Well,
bloodthirster, which kept him out of being able to
correct.
do anything.
It
Um,
really it really demonstrated how much better a flying monster is than a monster.
yeah,
So, you were able to constantly reposition your Gribbly outside my charge arc, but I was still in your charge arc.
yeah,
And then I had to constantly reposition the Tyrant outside your charge arc, but I was never gonna be you were never gonna stay in my charge arc. So it was always me on the back foot in that exchange. And eventually I just said, "F it. Come in. Let's just say, let's charge me. Let's
yeah.
go." And you did, and you got the 6.
I
And I
did. Well,
didn't
I
make
mean,
my 5 up.
he does have 7 attacks,
He
so
does. I mean, it was not unlikely, right?
it was like
But,
7 attacks, hitting on threes, wounding on
2s, yeah, the
twos.
great axe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, just 1
um,
6, 1 5 up. See you later.
yeah. But
But this was
it
the
was
worst beating.
interesting. Yeah, the Skull Cannon turn 1 picked up 3 of the man-eaters from the bigger unit, the one that was closer to me,
Correct.
and that was or was it 2? 2 or 3,
2. It was
regardless,
2.
but that was enough for me to be like, "I don't need to care about that flank anymore,"
Well, you
and
kinda just walked away from that flank and left it to
I did.
your DP and your cannon, and they did your DP and your cannon proceeded to smash what is effectively 650 odd points of man-eaters, with
Yeah,
them not laying a single swipe, like,
yeah,
not
you
not
had
landing a single hit.
by the time they got to me, you had 2 man-eaters left, because I was just, like, picking them off of
Yep,
fireballs and pillars of
yep.
fire and cannonballs, and letting that fly. And yeah, I don't remember why your Mournfang didn't accomplish anything. That's the one thing.
So my big mistake was the Mournfang were very close to the Tyrant, and so for
Mm,
this, you were corralling the Mournfang by the same movements that were corralling the Tyrant with the Thirster, which was a massive misplay on my part. That was, yeah, a huge problem of mine. I ended up sending them. I believe I ended up just full sending them in to try and get the Bloodthirster to commit so I could countercharge with the Tyrant. And you called my bluff. And then
mhm.
I believe you had your way with me in the magic phase, reduced their, um, I think you had the spell where you were reducing their toughness down. Because
Oh,
I had
yes.
I had
Yeah,
a I had a no magic list, and you were just killing them with like pink horrors and shit, man.
that's right. It wasn't the
And
pinks, but
flamers,
yeah,
flamers.
it was, yeah. Oh, I think I remember now. I ended up flank charging them. You did come in. I flank charged with the chariot. And I killed one with that, so you didn't get to swing back at me.
Yep.
And that was yeah. So yeah, now I'm
Yeah, and I
remembering.
had no strength, no toughness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real bad. It was real. So this is the game where I identified your DP as being OP. And in fact, because I took a no magic list because I just wanted to give it a go because of course taking magic as ogres is a 350 plus point commitment to just like take I thought a master is 230 goes up to 265. Putting any kid on him takes him above 300, and then a lot of the time you want to max him out, so a spangle shard or some other crap, and make him actually durable. Um, and so yeah, it's just such a commitment. So I just wanted to give it a go. I just wanted to give it a go. No magic, no nothing. Which surprisingly I do in the same next game as well. But the proof
No,
of concept here.
I think I remember now. Sorry, it's been 3 weeks or more.
This one was yeah.
You didn't have the Mornfang. You had a Slaughtermaster, and the Slaughtermaster did nothing that game, and you were super pissed because of the demons.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong list.
Yeah,
Maybe I've updated this since.
Yeah, you definitely did because you were kept saying, "Man, I wish I had Mornfang," and what it was because you had that Slaughtermaster kitted out in the back, and he failed to cast every spell that game. Like he literally cast zero spells because the -1 and me dispelling you, and you couldn't stay out of my range.
You want to know why? It's because I have two lists in my new recruit named Vang Ogres, and yes, Slaughtermaster with Spangle Shard, additional hand weapon, and that's it.
I guess he's not kitted out, but I mean he's still like 300 points or whatever.
Yeah, he's still 300 plus points. And I remember he ended up getting charged. I can't remember who it was, but the first 4-up invuln I made was a 1.
You failed it. Yeah.
And it was as soon as you roll a 1 on the space. So it's a Spangle Shard is a 35-point 4-up invulnerable save.
Yeah.
And as soon as you roll the 1, it ceases to work the rest of the game. And the first save was a 1. So I was just like, shoot me now. I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
Take me back. Take me behind the shed.
It was my Demon Prince that killed him right after.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. On to the next game. So I got absolutely shellacked. Also, I will say in this game, this is the first game I've played where Gorges really disappointed me. I've been an absolute Gorger fanboy. And this game, they sucked, and it really hurt my feelings.
The Furies wiped out one of them
real
quick, and then there was the other one lasted, but he didn't do anything. He just kind of.
If you remember, I learned from this game because in the next game where I played Double Gorges, I stuck the 2 buggers together and literally just moved them as a unit. Yep. So you couldn't charge one with a unit of Furies. You had to charge both. Yeah,
that was I learned. Much better for you. Like because
I learned
that made that charge real shitty for me.
The next game I played was also with Ogres, and this was the game where I played the list of Obsidian Lodestone. I played Obsidian Lodestone on effing everything.
Yep.
What did you play?
This was my corn list. I swapped out all of the Tzeentch elements other than the Demon Prince because I've just realized that he's something that's going to be in all of my lists. I replaced the Plague Drones. I replaced the Horrors. So the Horrors were replaced with an equivalent number of Bloodletters with a Khorne Herald. And then I took all of the Khorne banners in this list. So I had the Great Standard of Sundering, which is as long as an enemy wizard can see the unit that has that standard, they're at -1 to cast. So between that and the Demon Prince, all of your wizards are -2 to cast before magic resist, and the whole army other than the Demon Prince has magic resist. So you just don't cast spells against me. I had the reroll. I had and Furious Charge I put on the Bloodletters, the Furious Charge banner.
Yep.
And then I had a unit of 4 Blood Crushers that had the reroll charge banner on them. And because I wanted to give them a try, I was beginning to think maybe I was downplaying how good they were because of all the AP they have. And so I wanted to replace the Plague Drones with them. I had my Skull Cannon still because I did still enjoy that. I still had my 3x6 Furies for points instead of 3x8. Or it was 2x8. It was either 3x6 or 2x8 Furies. And Bloodthirster still with the axe rather than the flail. I'm still 50-50 on which one I like.
Yep.
And I believe that's the whole list. And so I went into a list that once again this time didn't have any magic. You'd taken all the magic out.
Took all the magic out. Yeah, and this isn't the list I was talking about with the Gorges. I'm actually remembering a previous game. But this one was my Cav Ogres.
Yes.
So this is a Tyrant, once again on Stonehorn with Kin Eater, Great Weapon, Armor of Meteoric Iron, Obsidian Lodestone, Taladin of Protection. 10 Trappers. If you'll notice, the Saber Tusks are being yeeted out of my list for Noblar Trappers at pretty much every turn. I can tell you more about that at another time. 7 Iron Guts with Obsidian Lodestone and Cannibal Totem. 3 Ogre Bulls with nothing on them. Double Iron Blaster, 2x4 Mournfang. Each one of the Mournfang Standard Bearer and Champion, both with great weapons, both with Obsidian Lodestones. And so the premise here was to just not get casted on whilst having no magic. So I spent 150 points. Are they 25 each or 35 each for obsidian lodestones?
20 points each.
20 points each. So I spent I spent 100 points on obsidian lodestones. 80 points.
And then I didn't get any hexes or fireballs, so I was only casting pillars of fire and hammer hand. So it was great.
And God pisses in my tea once again.
But I mean, hey, I spent a bunch of points on reducing your casting that you didn't have.
I ain't got none. Yeah, so this one was even Stevens.
So this was a really interesting game.
With the exception of my first cannon roll.
Yes. So I think if you're a patron, I did post the full battle report, I believe, of this game in our Discord after it happened because it was still fresh in my mind.
Why don't you read it out?
Sure. Well, it's a long thing.
Just paraphrase the high points then.
Let me see if I can find it. Yeah.
I want to start doing that though. Next time we play a game, let's just like record a 10 to 15 minute like rundown and just post it. So you can look forward to something like that in the future.
Yeah. So the list was 2x8 Furies of Khorne rather than 3x6. But everything else I said is true. So I ended up with first turn. I hid my Bloodthirster behind a building that was just outside of my deployment zone, so that you couldn't Iron Blaster him turn one. Yeah. I had my Furies, one unit of Furies, all strung out in front of my Blood Crushers, so you couldn't bait an Impetuous charge out of them. And then I had the other ones in front of my Bloodletters. You had scouted up your trappers like 12 inches away from me.
I was trying to use them to double bait. Like I wanted the Furies out. I wanted to use them to get the Furies out of the way so I could use the Mournfang to bait max charges. So
yeah. And then I had my Demon Prince that was tucked beside the Bloodletters so that you couldn't target him with cannons. And then my cannon was tucked behind the same building that the Bloodthirster was. On my turn, I threw a Pillar of Fire on some trappers. And because of how you had scouted, I saw that on the right-hand flank, you had really left it pretty wide open. So the unit of Furies that I had positioned in front of my letters, I just chose to say screw it. I vanguarded them up, and then I marched them onto the edge of your deployment zone, which just put them out of the line of sight arcs of your everything, which was great because I was now lined up to charge one of your Iron Blasters if I wanted to the next turn because of 360 charges that skirmishers have.
Oh, it's such a well-balanced rule, right?
Yeah.
It's only well-balanced rules that skirmishers are shit in combat, which Furies and Big Knights are freaking not.
Other than that, like I just kind of positioned myself so that my letters wouldn't have to charge your trappers the next turn, and and then I went up a little bit up the flank, but I didn't want your Mournfang to be able to charge my Furies. I chose not. Luckily, Furies aren't impetuous, so I managed to kind of set up some just to see what you were. I was trying to force you to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And then my cannon put a couple wounds on your Lord. On your turn,
like 3 wounds on him. Yeah, my turn. So I can take over this bit. Yeah. I was pretty sure Mournfang would beat Skull Crushers, 4 Mournfang versus 4 Skull Crushers. I thought like I was pretty confident with great weapons. I thought I could beat it. And so I had very, very little fear on the right flank, which was a unit of Furies and your 4 Crushers versus my 4 Mournfang. So I was pretty cavalier about that. Turns out I was incorrect. But the whole premise of using the trapper so aggressively was that if you wanted to not have impetuous tests, you had to keep the Furies in front of the shit, and so you would just have essentially not have Furies to use. So you had to either open up impetuous baits or not use your Furies. And so I wanted to give you that issue. Which you got around well because you didn't roll a single failed impetuous test because you didn't need to.
I didn't need. I did have one. There was one important impetuous test later in the game. But yeah, so you moved up your Mournfang, you did some shenanigans on the left, and one of your Iron Blasters blew up immediately.
Correct. First roll, misfire, roll a d6, roll a 1, see you later. 185 points off the table.
That let me be way more aggressive than my Bloodthirster later.
I would love at one point either have your thirster not be able to like do whatever it wants by turn 3 or be dead. I would
Yeah.
just one of those things I would like to happen. When I've brought 2 cannons, I would like that respect from you, please, in the future, Peter. Could you please consider it?
And then you kind of just position to threaten my stuff. So you put your
Yeah.
tyrant in a spot to like force me
Well,
to screw up my bloodletters, because if I did fail my impetuous test, you'd be able to hit them.
yeah.
Um,
I played this very different with the tyrant. I played him as a use it or lose it
yeah,
piece instead of a I can't really do anything because he got a thirster. I was like, F it. Use the tyrant. If the thirster comes and gets him, make sure you can get the thirster. So that was pretty much how I played it. I wanted to play him like the obsidian lodestone he had and try and pull your stuff into my charges.
yeah. Now, I think the big thing for me was when I realized the way you positioned your trappers to kind of force my furies on the left flank, where
Yep.
you weren't concerned at all about the blood crushers. It gave me the option to, um, because of how they were positioned, I could charge my furies into them. And the way I would string out, um, if I broke you, or even if I made you fall back in good order, my furies were going to end up hitting your Mornfang, and it was
Yep.
going to force you to stay where you were at the
Correct.
best. So I was able to push my blood crushers up a little bit for the next turn, because the big thing about blood crushers is like, just like Mornfang, they need their impact hits, because they do have 2 impact hits per dude.
Well,
Um,
I figured Mornfang wouldn't, but the overrun that you had was good in that it clipped 1 Mornfang. And of course, I
yeah,
couldn't pile in to move down. I couldn't move down to get more Mornfang into you. So it was what 6 attacks from Mornfang,
yeah,
hitting you on 4s, winding you on 2s into an invulnerable save. Yeah, I didn't do that much.
but even then, like, the big thing for me was I just needed you to stay in the spot. If you killed the
Yeah,
Furies and you overran, I was
I
still
was
getting
gonna,
my
yeah,
impact hits, right?
yeah,
Like, you were going to
yep, yep,
overrun, be stuck in front of my blood crushers. So I felt really confident about that left side all of a sudden, where it was like, now it's just the test of, our blood crushers actually good.
yeah.
On the right hand side, I made my impetuous save on the bloodletters, so I was able to back away from your tyrant, because that was where I was a little
Son
concerned.
of
I
a,
was about to lose
yeah,
my bloodletters, and then I shoved my bloodthirster right into your other cannon's face. I marched him to 20 inches.
yep,
The big thing with this one was that I hummed and hawed over. Instead of charging your Iron Blaster with those Furies, you'd moved your Mornfang up to threaten my bloodletters as well, and my Demon Prince. I chose to charge the Mornfang on the flank,
mm-hmm,
with the Furies, because we kind of mathed it out, and it was like a pretty good shot that I'd kill 1 Mornfang with that many attacks,
yep,
but it was kind of like a 50-50.
yeah. And that was because
I
I didn't have Iron Fist Mornfang. It's
Yeah,
actually much different to have the great weapon, so the 4-up armor save Mornfang instead of the 3-up armor
exactly.
save Mornfang. Because you had the 3-up, it was like a 10% chance you kill one, but it was closer to a 50% chance you killed one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, because I was going to be swinging with like 12 attacks,
yep.
hitting
Hitting
you
on 4s,
on
win on
hitting on
3s.
fours, wounded on threes, AP1. So you were only going to get a 5-up save. Anyway, I didn't kill a full Mornfang, but then your 4 attacks back, or 6 attacks back, or whatever,
Did
whiffed. You didn't
nothing.
kill a single Fury. So I actually
I
won. And this is what really fucked you over for the
the
king.
I so the Mornfang what for Bygoed, they didn't bounce back, they for Bygoed.
Yes, because you
Um,
rolled a 9 on your leadership test,
yep,
um, and
yep,
I had won by 2, the
by
combat by
2.
2, because of
Correct.
flank and the wounds.
Yeah, flank and you did like 2 or 3 wounds, yeah. And then
Yeah,
I had closed order, banner, no wounds. Yeah, you won by 2. I for Bygoed massively and went
yeah,
through my Iron Guts, who also failed their leadership 9 rerollable from the King
yeah,
Eater,
and
and
panic.
bucked it as well. And so you rolled up like like 700, 800 points in my army with the
Yeah,
Vigo,
and
and my
then
whole center was out of position. And
my
then
Furies
my
overran 17
correct,
inches and hit your
correct.
bulls.
I hit my 3 bulls, another premium thing for them to kill. So
Yeah,
my flank that was very well positioned to pressure the center was now completely collapsed. And my tyrant, which had pushed up aggressively, thinking it was going to be supported by Mornfang and or 7 Iron Guts, was now completely exposed with no support. And I was like,
yeah.
fuck. There's my one F bomb. Because that was seriously, I was like, I've never had a game changing complexity
Oh,
like
yeah.
like 5 like was it 6 Furies, 8 Furies or whatever in the flank just cracked my game. Completely cracked my game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that changed everything for me. It let me play a little bit looser on that right-hand side. It made me I got to be really aggressive with my Thirster. My Demon Prince didn't get into combat until round 6 because I played him very cautiously. Every turn, all I did was jump behind you. Like I was okay.
You had magic supremacy, and you didn't have anything that was going to damage me. So all you did was just jump around and threaten flanks and rears. Jump around, threaten flanks,
and toss out pillars of fire. Basically, that was it.
Yeah, and if you notice the army I was bringing, the only chaff I had was the 3 bulls and 2 Noblars, who were both dead by this point, and the ogre bulls had just been hit. So there's nothing that's going to protect me from those things. I just have like 5 like scary units, and if you get to them, you get to them. There's nothing I can do about it. They all have to support each other, and that's kind of Ogre's 101.
So on your next turn, you kill the Furies on the left-hand side. But your overrun doesn't matter because it's just so you choose
I think I restrained, and
you choose to restrain.
Anyway. Yeah,
because you wanted to make me at least have to try to roll for a charge.
Correct.
And then on the right hand side, you had to spend so much time reforming to try and save yourself. That it kind of really messed up your whole turn. I did whiff on the bulls, only killed 1 bull, and then you double 1 to your I think something like that, your leadership test. So then my Furies were done because that
was the worst outcome though. Like the bulls surviving was the worst outcome because I wanted you to kill them and have to overrun because you're Khorne, make it into the Iron Guards and just be dead.
Oh, they didn't have to overrun. Furies don't have to.
But you got leadership F-all and you were.
That's true. You are leadership.
So you go into the Iron Guts, I kill you, and then there's nothing to prevent the Iron Guts getting back into the game next turn. Instead, the Iron Guts could not charge in my next turn because guess what? That bull survived again, and so the Iron Guts could not complete a charge into the Furies. So the Iron Guts were
they did
out of the game.
They did. Remember, we know that because we talked it out.
Oh yes, I got 1 guy in.
I let you reform them. Yeah, I let you reform them because we looked at it and we were like, I was like, you did have a free reform after your rally because you did manage to rally, luckily. And I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a way you could have reformed. So you did.
Yeah, I went 3 wide instead of 4 wide on the bulls.
Yeah, and then you tagged me.
Yeah,
you killed the Furies, but now you're stuck in a forest at the top.
I was stuck in a forest and copped the Bloodthirster, I believe. Yeah, or it was a Bloodthirster and Bloodletters.
The Bloodletters were kind of on the back of the forest, and I wasn't charging you because I didn't want to have the forest F up my charge.
In addition to that, you actually, I think you even mathed it out, and you're like into 6 up armor, 5 up regen, and then whatever letters I was going to be able to kill with the Iron Guts. It was actually just better to put the Thirster in.
Well, what I did was I just waited. So the Thirster killed the Iron Blaster after you did point blank do 4 wounds to him, so he was down to 2 wounds, which I didn't like a lot. But he did kill the Iron Blaster, and then he ran off the board. And you tried to position in such a way that no matter how he came on the board, you could charge him, but it wasn't possible.
Yeah, that's correct. So I was in 8th edition mode and thought when you came on the table edge, you didn't move as well. You just walked on. Whatever. And so I was like, all right, no matter where he comes, I'm going to get him with either these Mournfang or these Iron Guts. And you're like, I'm just going to move on and fly out of range. And I was like, fuck. The second F bomb.
And then on the left-hand side, the Blood Crushers made their 4-inch charge. And wiped you down to 1 Mournfang left, I think, when that combat was done.
No, I had 2. I had 1-on-1 wound.
Yeah, that was what it was. Yeah.
So you did 8, 9, 10. You did 11 wounds to the Mournfang.
Yeah.
With your Crushers.
Because
I didn't kill a guy back with 7 Great Weapon attacks and then 6 Mournfang attacks. I did not kill a Skull Crusher. And then the next turn, you wiped him or ran him down. I can't remember which one.
I wiped him out. Yeah. And then I overran, and my overran put me just outside of a building, so I was able to reform, and I was now threatening your other unit of Mournfang and your Tyrant with them.
So when do we talk about the good stuff I did?
Well, you had a couple good moments because that second unit of Mournfang, you were able to do this weird slingshot maneuver.
I did.
And that got you into you basically protected yourself, so I couldn't do very much.
Correct.
And you this game, what it ended up coming down to for me at the end of it was like I was doing the math. Your Iron Guts were out of position, but they were going to be able to kill something as soon as they turned around. Um, I knew you were going to kill
Well,
either my
we
Bloodthirster or all my Bloodletters.
we already
But I
mathed
ended,
it out, and you were in the position to just run away for a minor victory, I think. You were just
yeah,
like, I just back up from this
at the
point. I've
worst,
got
yeah,
I've got I've got 2 Iron Blasters, and I've got a unit of 4 Mournfang, and I've got
yeah,
3 Bulls, and I'm just
yeah.
like, I can just back up and take like a 300, 400 point victory. Um, yeah.
But what I did was instead, because I was still worried about your Mournfang, what they were capable of, because you had put them in such a amazing position. I charged everything except the Bloodthirster because he had to come back on the board
Yep.
into your Tyrant, and I killed him.
Tyrant, yeah. You did. You've had Crushers in, so you had the
No, I had the
letters in
letters, the Demon
DP.
Prince, and
I can't remember if there was another unit. I can't remember. I thought it was the 2 Crushers, but it could have been the Furies.
no, it
It
was
could
the
have
Thresh
been,
Crushers. You're right.
yeah,
It was the 2 remaining Crushers. Because in the second round of combat you did kill one.
I did
You
kill,
did kill
yeah,
2. Um, Yeah, 2 remaining Crushers, the DP, and my Bloodletters and the Herald that was in the Bloodletters. You challenged and I declined, so the DP didn't
declined.
get to fight. But I did exactly the 7 wounds you had remaining with everything else.
I think so. I had a 5 up, of course. Iron Meteoric
Yeah,
Eye and Talent of Preservation. And man, I couldn't make an F and 5 up. He just died.
no,
He just straight up died. He lost 2 wounds to the cannon previously, so he was on 7.
yeah,
And yeah, just
and
just got
that's
murked.
where we called it because like your
So
Mournfang had
yeah,
easy charges. They were probably going to kill either the Blood Crushers or the Bloodletters.
yeah,
The Iron Guts could turn around and the next turn maybe do something,
yeah. It didn't
but
matter. You were going to take a minor victory at a minimum, even
yeah,
even if everything I had left survived and the Mournfang killed the letters, which was the highest points thing they could go into.
yeah.
Because I couldn't. You had it so that I couldn't make the DP, which I would have gone
The
for if I could.
DP and the
Obviously.
Bloodthirster were protected
Yeah,
very
yeah.
hard.
So
Yeah,
obviously, I go into the letters, I pick them up, but even then, even if I don't lose the Mournfang, don't lose the Iron Guts, you're still winning. Minor victory, pretty comfy.
yeah. And it's like it's still 16, 17 Bloodletters that are
Correct.
unbreakable, right? So there's the
It
chance
ain't
that you
nothing.
don't.
Yeah, correct. It's all about the impact hits on the D3s, pretty much whether
Yeah.
I get through them or not.
So yeah, so that
Uh,
was a very interesting game.
it was. If I hadn't have freaking Fabigo like 14 inches straight through the Iron Guts,
Yeah.
causing them to also fail Leadership 9 rerollable and bunk it, like I feel a lot better about that matchup. In fact, I think that list is about as like if I was going to a GT that I knew nothing about the meta I might just bring that list because it's just as about as savage as you can get.
Mhm.
But I'm just still not sure if all the Obsidian lodestones are worth it because naturally this was a very bad example of them in
Yeah,
practice.
I feel
But it's
like you
fine.
basically just needed them on the Mournfang if you're
Mournfang
gonna
and the
go that
Tyrant.
route.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
easily drop one on the Iron Guts because who cares
yeah.
at a minimum. We have one more game to discuss, and then we'll do some little talking points, which we may save for part 2 now that we're going about an hour just discussing our games. But our last game was me playing that Cav Empire list I was talking about. It
Mhm.
is a General of the Empire. Um, ooh, I have changed this, unfortunately. It's now a mess. What have I
That's
done?
okay. You had a
Uh,
general on a Griffin.
yep, on Imperial Griffin. Same thing I usually take, Talent of Preservation. I think he had the 2 damage, he had the Giant Blade this game.
Yeah,
Which of course I took just because I wanted a freaking magic weapon, and then Pete throws a curveball and plays Wox.
yeah.
But suffice to say, he had a 2 up or 3 up and an invulnerable save on a Griffin. I played a Captasis for the first time, which is literally a peg captain with a great weapon and the ruby ring. And I freaking love this guy. I'm going to play him a lot more. And then I had my level 4 on a peg also. He just had, I believe, the 5 up invulnerable. I don't think I took anything else on him.
Oh, the
Um,
Pegasus captain also had the bow, the dragon bow.
Oh, that's right. He didn't have. So
He
the
didn't have
ruby
ruby
ring was
ring.
on my wizard lord,
Ruby ring
and
was
he had
on
the
the wizard.
dragon's bow. I freaking love that guy. I want to play him
He was
again.
good.
He
He
was
was
real
good.
good. And then I had a captain of the empire on Barded Steed with the war banner because I'm trying to do the cav brick, and he had a 2 up, 5 up with a
Yeah.
great weapon. And then I had what was it? Was it 14 knights?
Yeah, you had a few too many knights,
I had too many knights.
but that's okay. You needed to fill your core anyway.
Yeah, I had like I had a couple of units of archers. I think I had 2 units of small knights. I had 2 units of 4, 2 units of 5 knights,
Yep.
with nothing on them. And then I had the rest of my core was just 1 brick of knights,
Yep.
with
Giant brick.
and of course they had the Griffin standard. No, sorry, they can't take it. It switched around. So the Griffin standard was on the BSB because they can only take 25 point standard, and they had the war banner. So instead of having the 8 static combat res, this unit has 6 static combat res because of course Cav don't get extra ranks, which is why there was too many in that unit. I took a bunch too many, so they could have been down to like say 11 or 12 knights, and I could have padded out my list a bit more. But so the same premise, the issues that the infantry have, as in like you just don't get them into anything. Your opponent has to charge them. I put this on the knights, which first and foremost, so much harder to avoid. They take so many fewer wounds because of the armor save that they generate the combat res matters more, even though there's less of it. And there are a huge amount more points. So if your opponent does dodge them all game, at least there are a bunch of points in the bank.
Yeah.
For denial wise. Then I had 2 units of demis.
Yep.
And
friggin' demis.
And 2 units of outriders, I believe. Yeah, 2x4 demis, 2 units of outriders. I think that's correct. Or is it 1 unit of outriders? I can't remember.
You had one unit.
Yeah.
You could have had 2 probably if you'd cut some knights, but
I cut the knights, yeah.
But still, and then my list, I wanted to run my
Triple Dragon.
My Daenerys Stormborn Warriors of Chaos list, which is a Warp Fire Dragon, a mostly bare bones Chaos Lord on a dragon with a lance and shield. So he had a 3+. Sorry, is it? 3+5+5+. And then I had and Galrock. I decided to run Galrock. The rest of the list was Forsaken. Like I had 3x7 Forsaken and a couple small units of Knights, Corn Knights. And that was basically it, because you don't have a lot of points to fit anything else when you're running 1,500 points of dragons in your list. Almost like 1,400.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be a lot of fun. It was skew, so I knew like it could just win off of skew.
Well, we were both heavy skew this game. Like I was all cav, I was all mounted. You were pretty much all monster.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I will say Galrock is not worth his points, but
he ain't it.
Like saying that, he did good. He killed more stuff than the other 2 dragons in the list. It's just like every time he got into combat, I was like butt clenched. Like he's not actually doing what I want him to do because he's supposed to be casting spells, but he's eating people instead. So this was an interesting game. It made me really frustrated with demigriffs because I wanted to do way more wounds to them than I needed to. But then you got real mad about Forsaken.
So, all right, in my head, 4 demis with halberds, so not lancers, obviously, but with halberds going into 5 Forsaken should just run them the F over. I've got the charge, run them over. 3 turns, 3 full battle rounds. I think I fought these guys. 6 rounds of combat. I think I fought these dudes.
It was less than that a little bit.
Let me exaggerate.
There was 2 combats. There was 2 combats. But yeah, so I had 2 units of 7 Forsaken take on Adam's one of his 4-man demigriff units for basically the entire game, because he hit one of them, and I made my 5-up ward saves. And my problem was, because I could have finished this off, I never once rolled Killing Blow on the Forsaken. When I kept rolling poison, man. I kept rolling poison, so I only had AP 1. But I still killed like a demigriff. I think the first combat we did, I actually won the combat by 1. And then after that, you slowly whittled them down. Luckily, they're also stubborn. So like when you would finally get a break turn and you killed them down to the 1 guy left, I used my stubborn. So that I kept them locked in. You finally killed that unit, hit the next unit of Forsaken that had kind of been hanging out there. That I think killed like one of your tiny units of knights. And then I did the same thing. And once again, the 5-up board saves kept me in the game for way longer. So that you had that 1 big unit of demigriffs on my left flank that just could never go anywhere because it was constantly bogged down in like 1 Forsaken.
I had one good turn of combat where you
Yeah.
had, I think I had 4 Forsaken left, and I'm like, just kill the last one, please. Just kill all 4 because I need to restrain, turn around, and like get back in this fight. Because I am not handling the dragons very well. They are you had one dragon that essentially killed a whole flank by itself. You had your Chaos Lord supporting that dragon, then you had Galrook jumping around the place, like flaminating my shit. You had completely avoided the big brick of knights up until this point.
Yeah.
And because you had so many points tied up in 3 big Griblies, you were able to avoid me easier than I was able to avoid you because naturally a big unit of knights and demigriffs are way less unwieldy. You did get your little dragon and your Chaos Lord into my other unit of 4 demis, and they actually held you. They actually did not they bounced back. You got a front and a flank, I think, or
no, it was double flank. I double flank. I killed 2 of them because you made your saves.
I had Oaken Shield on him that turn, so
yeah. So I killed 2 with the double flank. You backed up. I did end up killing them the next turn.
You did.
But it still
grateful.
held me up.
I was grateful. But see, here's the thing with the demis into the Forsaken. I need to turn around because Galrook is about to recharge my Chaos Lord. So my general, who's in. No, see, he was in combat with the other unit of Forsaken. It was 1 unit of Forsaken that held up my 4 damage.
Oh, that's true.
Mate.
So I had 3 units of Forsaken.
You had 2 units, right?
I think I had 3.
Okay, fair. All right, never mind. So yeah, those demis needed to kill that last freaking Forsaken in order to turn around and assist when Galrook goes into the back of my my general, who's you've just used stubborn again on the other unit of Forsaken, who I think I killed 3 or 4 of, and they've bounced back. Galrook's about to go into the back of him after flaming and me failing like 6 strength tests, and you ripped off the back rank of the knights, which funnily enough didn't matter. And yeah, and then this one bastard doesn't die. Runs off the board, and I fail my leadership 9 rerollable on the demis, and they pursue him off the table.
Yep.
And I'm like, G effing G. And then when we knew that was over, when we knew that was happening, and Galrook had gone in and in 2 turns, he had killed 2 combats, he'd killed my my lord.
But you almost killed him. He was down to like 1 wound left.
1 wound left.
Really,
it was close.
Hurting. Yeah,
because he's not. You couldn't make a regen save on him.
I couldn't make any saves on him for the life.
The other dragon, the way cheaper dragon, was invincible. But Galrook, Muppet, he's falling apart. Then tell them about your courtesy, because you had already secured a minor victory by this point, and you once again let me check proof of concept. You charged your Chaos Lord into my knights to see what would happen.
Yeah, so like round 6 now, or round 5 probably at this point. I've got the game in the bag. I can avoid you with my dragons now and just be like, even if you kill the rest of the stuff in my list, I've got 1,400 points flying around. And I'm like, I have a long bomb charge into your big knight unit. Let's see what happens. Let's see like what my Chaos Lord can actually do. Like he's not a fully tooled up Chaos Lord. He's just got a lance.
Yeah.
But he's still gonna have. I think with that Gaze of the Gods, I was up to 7 attacks.
Plus 2 attack. You rolled plus 1 attack twice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had like 7 attacks plus the dragon 6 plus his stomps. I was like, let's just see what happens. And you had Oaken Shield up, so I was like, the math's not good, but I want to see. And I hit you, and I killed
my champ.
I killed you. Yeah, I killed your champ. I ended up overkilling him by like 3. So
3. Yeah.
So I did 4. I had like 4 combat res or 5 combat res, and you still had 6. Mm-hmm. So you won combat by 1. And I rolled a 10, or I rolled a 9 on my leadership, but because you like way out unit strength me, I broke.
I ran.
Did not fall back. Did not fall back in good order with my leadership 9.
And that made it down. That made it a draw out of a consolation charge out of P. So it was a Pete win, but yeah, it was that was a great game. I really enjoyed that game because that had a bunch of like wild. Like
if your captain had gotten 1 more wound through on Galrock, then like I had to make that charge with the Chaos Dragon, or else I'd lose. Like
well, if my demis hadn't overrun off the table, like because they failed their leadership 9 rerollable restrain. Because of course that last Forsaken ran off the table. I was not going to pursue the guy; he was already gone. And then I failed, had to pursue. Otherwise, I do get Galrock, and then the game is spicy. But dude, that game was my funnest game of the mostly because I got it. closest loss. And it was with arguably your crappiest list that you played in. Like the skew that I think doesn't function in the wider meta. The triple dragons, whilst awesome, it just there's no way you keep all three safe from a gun line. And even if you do, you're playing a losing battle.
I think the triple dragon has some Galrock's just not good as a
Nah.
caster.
Yeah.
The thing about triple dragon is it's such a skew. It's like if in a tournament, it's probably like a 3-2, 4-1 list where it's just going to beat a bunch of people at bottom tables that are bringing lists that they like. And there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, anybody listening, like there's nothing wrong with bringing a list that you think is thematic or cool, or a list that you like. It's because you're going to run into guys like me. And whether that's good or bad for you depends on your mood, I guess.
Like I think it's got legs, but not with Galrock. I don't think he's worth it. And
no, if I did like the two triple save guys, it'd probably be better. But.
Correct. And the issue I have is that the Chaos Lord you have in there actually will fail some damage checks. Like he goes into like some Peg Knights, he goes into some Blood Knights. He actually doesn't do anywhere near enough damage to win those combats through regenerations and things like that. So it's actually a bit of a problem for him.
It can be, yeah, for sure.
All right. So what are your big takeaways from our deluge of games?
I do think demons are way better than I initially gave them credit for when like I was kind of going over stuff at the beginning of the game and even a few months in. The more I've sat with them and like really tried to come up with a take all comers list that I feel comfortable with, the more competitive I feel they are. And I haven't touched Slanesh yet, and I think there's good
some
stuff there.
There's some juice. Yeah.
Nurgle, I feel like Nurgle should be good, but because of the way the game's being played now, it doesn't have the legs. No. But I really did like the Zinch Korn combo. Because you shut down one whole archetype, basically. Like there's no magic archetype that should stand up against you unless they get real lucky. And so now you're just basically playing into the weakness being the one weakness that I think a lot of armies have right now after all the FAQs and everything, and just the fact that it's a strong book is Bretonnia. Because that's still an army that should have the initiative against me, and it's why I'm more leaning towards the Bloodthirster with the flail instead of the Great Axe, just to have the damage D3 weapon instead of the Monster Slayer. Even though it does now open me up to having a worse game into monsters. I feel like the Bloodthirster is still capable of taking down most monsters by himself anyway, even with the D3, as long as I roll okay. But so like came away with a lot of respect for demons.
Me too.
I'm still going to keep playing them. Just yesterday, I pulled my orcs back out because I had my Nomad project, so I went and had a game against my buddies, Warriors of Chaos, and it was my friend Craig. He's an amazing guy. He hasn't had the time to really like focus on Old World yet. So when we played, it was more of me playing myself. Which I was super fine with. Like we were just chatting and having a drink, and I was kind of half teaching him the game, but also half like in my situation, this is what I would do. And he was running a Chaos Dragon list. He had wanted really bad to run a whatchamacallit from Beastman, the not a Cygor,
I know the one. That guy, he's holding the rock and doing the stuff. He's
no, not the rock one, the one with the sword ons. The monster one, the one that actually has Killing Blow and Monster Slayer and a billion attacks. He wanted to run that real bad.
Never heard of him.
So I said, sure, and I'll run my Bone Grinder Giant. And we had a great game. Even though his list was technically illegal, I didn't care. The Bone Grinder went into the Gorgon. That's what it is. And the Gorgon killed the Bone Grinder with Monster Slayer, and then the Bone Grinder killed the Gorgon with Timber. So it played out
that's
hilariously.
That's the best.
And the game basically ended when I forgot he had a dragon. Because he originally was playing with models that he had, and he only had a Manticore Lord. And I was like, just pretend it's a dragon because I want that practice. And he was like, cool. And then my ADHD kicked in and I set up all the stuff with all my boar boys based on, okay, he's just got a manticore. Even if he successfully charges me, I'll countercharge him. He's only toughness 5. And then he charged me, and I was like, as he was charging, I was like, wait a minute. I told you to make that guy a dragon to make this harder on me. I've made a terrible mistake.
Can you do me a favor and play that badly into me? That'd be great.
And but it was good for me. It gave me some practice on escaping because I ended up he hit my boar boys, my big boar unit. I challenged him with my champion. He killed the champion. But because of that, I got to fall back in good order. He pursued, and then I got to use travel mystical pathway on them because it doesn't say that they have they don't have to be in combat. Teleport them away from the combat, and I still got to use the boar boys for the rest of the game. So like it let me like rethink some stuff and play more strategically that way, which I really enjoyed. So, and that's the thing, guys. Like even if you're playing like in a for funsies game, there's nothing to stop you from like really thinking out these weird scenarios you might find yourself in to get that learning. So
yeah, I 100% put yourself in awkward positions, try and figure it out. I mean, I think that's my biggest takeaways was like some of the maneuvers I was able to do when I was caught in like a bad position, or I had the Iron Guts and the Mournfang run away. I was like like one turn later, I had the Mournfang somewhere relevant again, like poised to do something relevant and being a headache to you. I was kind of proud of that. I was proud that I was able to conceive of a way to get them back into the game in only one turn. Even despite I wishing it just didn't happen. Also, I mean, ogres are unfortunately diminishing in my estimations quite a bit. Their best units are as good as anybody's, but they just have no support. There's no support around those best units. You just have like 2 or 3 big, good freaking things, and then like that's it. You have to play them perfectly or you are cooked, which I like. I do like that aspect, but the game is really punishing at the moment. Like, and I don't know how ogres contend with stuff like Bretonians and some of the undead lists that are running around, be it vampires and or mortuary cults. I think all those are horrific matchups. And in addition, like, there's some really awful dwarf matchups out there too now, where the dwarfs are just, kind of bringing huge blocks of iron breakers that I can't do anything against because they get no impact hits. So I think it's a pretty predator-filled environment for ogres at the moment. But man, I am loving brewing all sorts of wonky stuff. Like the brand new playbook that Empire has opened up for me is stupendous. I can't wait for them to get the Arcane Journal. I'm enjoying all the new wonky SKUs. Like I've already zoned in on what is good, obviously. Hellblasters, cannons, engineers, demigriffs, a freaking general on a griffin, level 4 on a peg, whatever. And then the rest of your list is whatever. But like I want to try out flagellants. I want to freaking somehow make great swords feel good because they feel really shit at the moment. And like I've gone down a bunch of different rabbit holes. I'm still experimenting. I still got so many other things I plan to try. And I'm looking forward to it. Just really, really, really hoping for some cool stuff out of that Arcane Journal. But anyway, on that note, mate, we might wrap this one up. We've got a couple of discussion topics that we're going to save for part 2 now. But
we're going to talk about the LGT. So you guys should sign up for the Patreon. So we can talk about LGT.
We're going to talk about the LGT GT.
The drama of Bretonia being really good.
The London Grand Tournament. Anyway, mate, you say your good nights. Hopefully we will be joined by Danny on next week's episode. We haven't done the demon review yet, have we?
We have not. Nobody wants it except me.
Let's do it. No, stuff it. We want it. We're doing it. Next week's demon review. Unless something really pertinent comes out, demon review next week. Hopefully you'll tune in for that. Love you all. Thanks for the support. Sign up for the Patreon. Say goodnight, Falcon.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to That Old World Charm with those charming chaps, Adam, Danny, and Peter the Falcon. Thanks ever so much. Cheerio.